Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 15 of Our Time Is Now. Got a special guest for you guys today. Good co-worker, good friend, Miss Harmony Malone. We're going to jump into a discussion of a project she has just recently been working on for the past 2 years. You want to talk about it a little bit, just describe what it is?
What's going on, good people? It's your girl, Miss Harmony, coming at you live to say, hey! So yes, as my dear friend Tyler was sharing, I've been working on a project with a bunch of wonderful local artists called Masters of Movement. As told by We, Us, Them, it was a 2-year project where we were retelling the stories of significant figures, people of color, Black bodies, in our history. Each and every single artist got to choose someone that they either admired or saw themselves in, and they decided on which way to retell their story. And the individual that I chose was Maya Angelou, and I got to unpack a lot about her and myself in this. So right. I'm excited to sharing more with you all.
Yeah, I got a ton of questions for you. I was all over the place. Scatterbrain had a couple quotables in there, and I just want to touch on it, go into more detail that we may not have got the chance to during the Q&A. Mm-hmm. So we're going to jump right into that. Let's go.
Project Masters of Movement, as told by We, Us, Them, with my dear friends, Megan, Omohundro, Billie, and Willow. And so I'm Harmony, for those of you who don't know me. And so we're just continuing to have this discussion. He had some questions. And as I shared at both Q&As, if you had more questions or were curious to know more about that project, please feel free to reach out to me. You can email me, you can call me, you can Facebook me, you can Instagram me, all at Miss Harmony. And so this is just the continuation of that discussion. So feel free to tune in or tune out, whatever feels best to you. So we're going to get into it. This is my dear friend, Tyler.
What's up, people? How's it going? So I am a scatterbrain, if you can't tell. So I got arrows all over the place. So I'm going to try to make this go in order. Maybe not, maybe no. So you've been working on the project for 2 years.
Yes.
The big thing that caught my attention in the beginning is you said, what motivated you is you struggle with contact, even with people you love.
Yes.
And that kind of hit home because I feel very similar. Due to maybe the loss of your father.
Yes.
I lost my father too in 5th grade, so I know exactly where you're coming from there. Now, do you remember what was the first thought that really kind of popped into your head when you initially wanted to start working on this project?
Well, Megan and Kathy came to a handful of us. We actually originally started with myself, Willow, G-Quan Booker, my best friend. That's my OG, triple OG.
Salute.
I love G-Quan, and Gazelle. And it was an idea that they had been crafting, I guess, for a little while and been in conversation about. And when they came to us, I was looking to be a student anyway. I was getting tired of constantly giving my talent as an artist, as a dancer. For those of you who know me, you know that I have my own dance studio, so I'm constantly teaching and educating our students. And then we're currently at the Greater Ithaca Activity Center, which is my full-time job, where I am always giving back. So everything I do is giving and serving community, and I'm honored to do that. But I really wanted to be a student. And so when Megan and Kathy approached me and asked if I would be interested in being a part of this project, I naturally was like, absolutely. Yeah. And then when we started to get into practices, I remember on the very first day of practice, we were at CSMA, which is the Community School of Music and Arts. And I had been teaching there at a time, and I had transferred my program over to Megan and had her take over the hip hop instruction there for me because I was tired. And we were practicing and we were doing contact improvisation where Kathy or Megan would give us a word to emulate or recreate. And I remember the only person that I was extremely confident and comfortable with touching me was Ji-Kwon, because Ji-Kwon is literally the other half of me. Everybody knows that is like, if you know me, everyone knows that Ji-Kwon is literally Miss Harmony in male form. And so he was the only one I was comfortable with touching me, even though I had a relationship with everybody. And I struggled with trying to figure out the reason as to why. And it wasn't until we sat down as a group and started to process, because some of them had noticed, like, Harmony, you're usually so touchy and lovey-dovey, and, you know, this was the scene, I see you struggling. And so we started to unpack that and unravel that. And I realized that it was connected to my father, the passing of my father, and connected to this moment that I had when he had passed, when so many people wanted to touch me and, you know, give me comfort, but really it was they're looking for comfort in touching me, and security for themselves and not so much for me. So it wasn't even a moment that was about me, it was for them. And I didn't like it, because I felt like people were ignoring me and being selfish in that moment of let me touch you so that you can feel better, I hope, but really it's so I can feel better. And
100%. And
so in that moment, it was hard to separate those two feelings for me in class, because I knew that I loved all these people very similarly to all the people who were touching me. I knew that I loved them, but I didn't like it, and I didn't know how to say I don't like that, and because I don't like to hurt people's feelings.
You don't want to just come out your face and be like, I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful, but
right, don't touch me.
I have a song that I wrote a while ago, and I said I guess it kind of relates similar to that, and I said, everybody always says you're in my prayers, but how many of us are actually praying?
Yeah.
You know, and that resonates home. Like, is it for you or is it for me? And I agree with that.
Yeah.
But this is a new venture feat for you then, because you were always in the dance. I mean, back when you used to rent out GIAC and do your dance school here, you were always in dance. This is like taking the stage in a different light now? Performing arts, I guess, still under the same umbrella?
Yes and no. Again, I've been acting in this community since 8th grade.
Okay.
And so I was known for theater, for being a musical head for a long time. A lot of my cousins would probably credit their journey in musicals to me, and grandmas, right? Our grandmas, I'd be like, Grandma, they won't do it with me. And, you know, girl, go over there and go try it out, go audition, you know? And so, and that's how some of my cousins got into musicals and things of that nature, but I've always been a theater baby. My mom was a very eclectic listener and always encouraged us to go and branch out and find the thing that we love. And I realized that musicals, acting, dancing, singing simultaneously were the things that brought me joy. And so when I got to college, I didn't do anything on stage, but I did take some classes. And I went to school for therapeutic recreation in hopes to be a therapist of play. And so I've always, even as an adult, I've still had several opportunities to be on stage and to act and to sing. I sing at my church, Calvary Baptist Church. Ooh, ooh. And so I've always been engaged. So it is under the umbrella of all the performing arts, but they were always requesting that I utilize my gift and my talent to teach others versus just letting me be on stage. So I've had a handful of opportunities to be on stage, and I miss that aspect of
I remember seeing you with the kids too, and they always follow you around, Miss Harmony, you know, and that brings me to another point in here somewhere, is that it was cool to have Nia host it, because I've always said, like, you're like a mini Nia of the community.
Yes.
You know, I've told you that before. I'm like, yo, you're like her, like, in a way, like, just on a younger version, because you're, like, very involved with the community, your kids, you know, they all look up to you. And I think that was pretty cool. When we were talking, somebody had mentioned from the 1700 to the 1970 museum display of Sarah Bartman that was studied with the auction block.
Yes.
And even though it was a white woman on the pedestal, the way I took it was like, interpreted it like, society, that seems like higher in society. And then when you brought up Leslin as doing theater, I totally forgot until you mentioned the actual thing where she did, and I remember her telling the story about it. But looking at your facial expressions, I told you that it was funny because I knew who you were personality. So like, it was like, yeah, fun and games. But the reality of it was the flip side, oh shit, like, is this how I'm supposed to look? Or like, ooh, am I supposed to look like that? Like, to fit up to society standards. And that's how I interpreted it from the pedestal. So elaborate more on that?
Yeah, so I think that it's interesting, the matter of perspective, right? White versus black, old versus young. Because I know what my intention was behind that scene, and it wasn't a pedestal, right? A pedestal is usually...
not a pedestal, but the block. The block, I think, right? The auction block.
But there's a distinction between those two things, right? Because a pedestal is uplifting,
of course,
versus being on an auction block, which is very demoralizing. And in that scene where Kathy is standing on this block, and as I shared with at both Q&As, if she wouldn't have been someone that I loved immensely, I wouldn't have cared about her emotional well-being in regards to, are you okay being auctioned? Because as I stated at both Q&As, my body is auctioned every day as a person of color. And there's so much work that goes into just getting up to exist in this world today. And so, in that scene, right, where I was in Maya's childhood. And I was very strategic in that. So I was highlighting Maya Angelou's mutism. This is a trigger warning for those of you who do not care to hear about rape or sexual abuse. This is a moment that you might want to tune out for a hot second, because I'm going to honor the journey of Maya Angelou. And even in saying that, it sometimes upsets me because the act of rape itself is not nice, nor does it give permission or ask permission. But Maya was raped by her mother's boyfriend when she was 7. And her 7-year-old logic, when she was raped, she went and told her younger brother, Billie. And when she told her brother, Billie, like, she had already made this, like, was already afraid because the man had told her, like, if you tell anybody, I'm going to kill you. And so she was already terrified to tell her brother, but she loved her brother and loved her brother immensely. She calls her brother Billie her heart, as well as her son, Guy Johnson. But she had said, like, or a couple of days later, after she told her brother the name of her rapist, the police came and knocked on her mother's door and said that this man had been kicked to death in the street. And her 7-year-old logic had told her that her voice was so powerful that it had the power to kill. And so she went mute for 5 years at the age of 7. And so for those of you who did not get to see the work, in my work, I had transitioned into her childhood, and I really wanted to honor her mutism, because I don't know about you, but it's very difficult for me not to speak. I love to speak. I love the sound of my voice. I love the sound of my voice when it engages with others and brings joy to others. But imagine not speaking. Every other sense is magnified, right? And so she said her body became an entire eardrum. And so what you see is me playing as a kid and like running around this willow tree. My friend Willow ended up being a tree, and I called him my willow tree. But like listening to the heartbeat of a tree and smelling the air and smelling all the differences in the air, the difference between fall and winter. Like, you know the smell of rain, but how often do you actually enjoy it or appreciate it? And so I was trying to highlight all these different things like flavors and taste. There was a point in time where I picked up the leaves that were on the ground and I stuck it in my mouth, and like to highlight her senses of her taste buds. All these things were magnified because her voice was silent. She was silent.
That makes more sense to me because I was hearing the letter, and then I kind of took the second part as a silent pain performance, and I didn't know that she was mute, so that definitely makes a lot more sense to me now, as opposed to why you wrote the letter, because whether she's speaking verbally or whether she's speaking, through writing, it's still, you're still penning it. Yep, that was the one quote where she said, when I stopped speaking, my whole body became an ear.
Yes.
So I did actually quote that, but you beat me to the punch.
Yeah, and so like also just to reference back to highlight the intersectionality between Maya and myself, right? Her silence was so loud, it was deafening. And in my letter to Mama Maya, I had wrote a line where I said, nobody knows the scream behind my silence. And I wasn't talking about her, I was talking about me as an artist, as someone who's in this community who, again, highlighting the fact that I'm always called to serve, but how many people take the time to actually learn about who I am? Like, how, if you think about all the voices that you know, just in the Ithaca community or wherever you may be viewing this from or listening to this from, think about all those powerful individuals that you look up to. How often do you take the time to consider, like, hey, they're a human being that goes through things. Yeah. Who's there for them? And so even when I wrote that letter, it was so overwhelming for me. I had to stop several times because I was like, I couldn't imagine being Maya. And I highlighted this point where I said that I was tired and how I was embarrassed to say that I was tired because, you know, we still have all these beautiful activists and advocates who are 70 and 80 who are still fighting, and I'm 27 and I got the nerve to be talking about I'm tired, I just want to take a nap, I'm so emotionally spent, I just want to be done, you know. So here I am at 27, and these people, or these, you know, heroes who have paved the way for my greatness, for your greatness, they're still fighting. And so
they're people too. They're ordinary people. It's just it's really the power you give yourself to really take it to the next level. Like if you live in that fear, you kind of suppress your own power, and then you go, oh well, I can't do that. Until you actually go do it, you never know.
Right.
And then you might be the one breakthrough, the one crack in the wall that sends the rest of it tumbling down.
Exactly.
You know. That was
I love that. I love that he has all these questions, and they're like, can I steal this for a second?
Yeah, with the
guys, it's like all over and written sideways and upside down, but I love it.
Because as it's going on, I'm trying to watch the show, but I'm trying to like scribble, so I was like writing it without looking down at the thing, you know. But the pens, the drawing on with the pens, and you wanted to feel the real pain. I was like, this ain't milky pens, you know. I didn't know what it was at first, but I saw like I symbolized it as like the cuts. They cut deep, you know, and scars and everything that comes with it.
Yeah. So again, for those of you who didn't see the show, there is this moment where I'm highlighting Maya's journey as a sex worker. She was a madame, and she had to do what she had to do to take care of her family. And she was a really tall woman. She was 6 foot something, you know. She was tall, and she was considered ugly and all this jazz. And she had, in her documentary, there's this scene where she goes back to Stamps, Arkansas, which is where her grandmother lived, where she grew up. And she was reminiscing about a moment in time where a white child had disrespected her grandmother by revealing herself. So like, you know, dancing on her head and like pulling up her dress, like, look at my body, like, because it's not ladylike to reveal any part of yourself. But she was reflecting on this moment where she had to grit her teeth because she would walk through town, through the white part of town to get home or to go wherever she needed to, and how she desired that freedom essentially, and she didn't have it, and it would anger her so. And she said, so when I took the pen to write with, to tell these stories, I am re-scraping over these scars that have healed, right? So if you think about, I don't know how many of us have them, but like, Black people keloid sometimes, right? And so we get these really big scars. Imagine like cutting that open again and like keloiding over that again. This is what she was doing. This is the beauty of her ability to bring into a space the beauty of an analogy. Sorry, I was trying to find the word, an analogy, right? But she paints a picture so vividly and so clearly when she says, like, I took the pen was scraping over these scars and reopening these wounds again. And so when she said that, I said, I want to recreate this moment on my body, right? So I remember how triggering it was. I don't know, and I pray to God, for those of you who are watching this, I apologize if anyone has ever taken advantage of you and abused your body. I am a survivor of sexual abuse, and I know that this work was triggering for me, and I'm the one who created it. And it was extremely triggering for every single person that participated in this work. And I had everybody that was a part of our group participate in this work. And recreating this sensual, sexual work, and then saying, come treat me like dirt, essentially making all of, I hadn't even thought about it, which is also why it's so triggering, because I keep unpacking a new layer. But I essentially was asking them to come and rape me again with their pens, and like just disregarding my body as a whole, disregarding the value of my life as a whole by taking this pen and marking me, right? So in the scene, you see Megan Omohundro, my dear friend, who then transitions to be a mother later. She writes "ho" across my chest. And I don't know if you've ever had, like, it's one thing when you're in school and you're drawing on yourself and like making doodles. It's another thing when somebody is stabbing you with a pen. I really felt that pain, and it really hurt a lot to not only have the word "ho" written across me, because of the labels that society gives you, right? And that's in all realms. That's in religion, in society, in like being Black, being white, this idea, these notions that are placed on our bodies, these assumptions that are placed on us that don't belong to us. We don't have to claim those things, but we're given those things, and it's hard to fight. And that's what I mean about, Black people are constantly on auction, because we're constantly being thrown these labels. Oh, you're not this, or you are this.
Stereotypes, and it's just things that have stuck around for so long now that you eventually start to believe it.
Exactly. And that's hard, right? And so it's hard to fight that idea every day. And so to ask them to come and literally physically write on my body, right? You see Willow go all the way up my arm, all the way down my chest, and then he throws me away like, I'm done with you. I've used you for my purpose. You served my purpose. I'm done. You no longer matter. The deed is done. And that is, like, even in saying that, I know I'm smiling, but that hurts to say, like, and these are all my friends, and I'm making them do something, like tap into this really other side. That they either have experienced on the negative side and didn't want to relive. So nothing about my work was easy. Nothing about it was easy. And
that brings conclusion to when you're drawing with the pen, as her being the writer that she was, you're reliving those traumas through the memories. So if you've already witnessed it, even whether you were silent or not, you're rewriting it.
Yeah.
It might not mean anything to anybody else, but it means something to you. So you're always going to feel that pain no matter what. I mean, you can release it, but it'll still always be there in the back of your mind, no matter how minuscule or how extreme it may have been.
Absolutely.
I was telling my parents, actually, because we were watching it, how I used to watch you at GIAC on the night shift and at the custodian, and I said, this was like your calling, like dance. It always was. And you bring on G-Quan being the male counterpart. He also used to rent the studio and come in with his class and do everything. Megan had mentioned it's emotional and physical and intellectual. Emotional and physical intellect. Don't harm. We shy away from the legitimate connection. And I don't know, I just feel like your entire project had all that intertwined. And now that you're really breaking it down, it opened up just so many more doors to me just in this little session, because like I said, I didn't understand the concept of the whole silence, but knowing that she was mute for 5 years definitely brings, okay, that's why it was the letter and then silent pain. Y'all, y'all all as a collective, as a whole, are what we call in hip hop MCs, because it's a master of ceremony, and it don't matter whether you're grabbing the mic. I mean, MC technically means somebody who's like, you know, hosting something, and they're on the microphone. But I believe it's all art forms, whether it's dance, acting, music, writing, even. Do you write a lot? Would you ever consider possibly publishing a book?
That's so crazy. I want people to leave me alone about a book. No, I have a lot of writing, and I have considered putting together something. I don't want to say necessarily a book. I don't know. It would be I feel like I could
even do like a Kindle, like, you know, it doesn't need to be like a novel necessarily, like 500 pages, but you could do like a poetry book, a memoir, something along those lines, you know.
I've thought about it, but I'm still not sure, because like some moments I'm still living in right now that I'm trying to unpack.
Pamphlets.
Do
like a pamphlet type thing, like the old days. You know, like this Miss Harmony's pamphlet volume 1.
It reminds me of like Bridgerton, the series Bridgerton, and it's Lady Whistledown. You know, like I'm like, I could be a Lady Whistledown and write all this.
Well, everybody has their own story, and I think like if you have it to tell, you know, whether it relates to 1 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, 1,000,000 people, you might not get to that stage where, you know, you're MLK speaking at the White House and you have this entire masses that could relate to you, but if you have an auditorium, a gymnasium, even a classroom filled with circle of people that you're helping, that you're mentoring to get through those tough times in life, it means more to those 10 people than it could to capture the entire world, because they never had that. So,
but I think that I do that in the work that in being a teacher,
of
right?
course.
And as being a dance instructor, when I'm teaching, I don't just like give you counts of 8. I'm having a conversation with you about what's going on. So like right now, in preparation for Black History Month talent show, United is currently working on some choreography to the song "Stand Up" from the movie Harriet, and there's a line. There's a stanza in the song where it says talks about. Hold on, I'm trying to get to the lyric.
Like a line in the sand.
Yeah. It's something about like crossing the line, right? And like I sat there for like 20 minutes explaining. Sorry, y'all. It'll come to me probably later, but it's talking about crossing this line of freedom, right? And our movement is like we're digging this line into the ground. Like this line indicates that as soon as I step over this, I am free. And I was like, can you imagine that like there's not a physical line? You don't see like this red tape that's like here's freedom. No, but like you knew that once you crossed over into this land that, you know, this was your freedom. And I took the time to explain for 20 minutes about that journey. What does that mean? And I'm real with my kids. I always allow the space to be vulnerable with my kids. And so I was like, could you imagine that I grabbed one of my students, like, could you imagine, obviously with permission, I didn't just grab one of my children, but like, was like, could you imagine that she belongs to me? And she ran away from me because she, you know, I'm treating her poorly. I'm whipping her. I'm doing this. And she's running away so she could be free, so she could be her own person. And I catch her. Do you know I could kill her because, you know, and I have these real conversations with my kids because no conversation is too difficult. It's a matter of your discomfort with that conversation, which is something that you need to address for yourself and unpack for yourself. But I think that there are things that are inappropriate, yes, but I think that no conversation is too difficult to have. There's a way to navigate that. And children probably know more about it than you assume anyway.
Yeah.
So, but I was thinking about that line, and every time we have a moment, especially in Black History Month, but every day is Black History Month over there with us, you know. But we were unpacking this, like, and to see them processing, like, I couldn't imagine having to belong to anybody and not have free will, right? Because they belong to their parents, right? But I was like, could you imagine if your parents every day.
It's not your parents.
Right.
It's just a stranger or somebody, you know, even, you know.
But some of them, I mean, some slaves, their father was their master, you know, so.
Or you were just generationally there.
Yes.
So it was kind of the norm, what you would consider the norm at that time.
Yeah. So I think that, like, even though I'm not, I write in when I get overwhelmed about stuff, but I think that the power of the conversations that I have and engaging with my students is where the history and the legacy is for me. You know, because I did, in my letter, I had wrote, like, I want to be remembered, Mom. I want to be remembered. And I'm like, I'm going to be remembered. As long as all these kids that I've touched, all their lives that I've touched.
Has a story to tell about you.
Yeah. And it's their own unique journey about whatever relationship they have established with me. But they are going to have that, and that's going to be my legacy. Even if I never have a building, right? You know, that's still my legacy.
Yeah, it brings it back to the large stage or the small stage. It's all a stage.
That's good.
You did mention Miss Harmony is loud, and you know, to see you sitting quiet for so long was weird, because being a performer, even though you were performing in your own different way, it was definitely harder. Nothing wrong with having a voice or a message as powerful as you, though. So it's big ups on that. And like you said, the kids, I know they definitely appreciate that. I remember when I talked to you about the MLK performance you did, I said the crying was there. And I said, like, I always enjoy watching you perform, whatever. You said, don't gas my head. But I was like, it's true. And I wonder, was that performance kind of like a public version of this performance initially, with the pain, the aches?
Yeah, it was in response to everything that was
like, was
happening.
It a demo version, like a mini version of this big performance that you had coming up?
No.
Okay.
No. So the women's rally performance was in response to the young men whose lives had been taken, right? Like all young men, but Ahmaud Arbery was the most recent, I think. And then we had Breonna Taylor was like the most recent woman whose life had been taken during that time of the Women's March. And I was starting to, I hadn't been talking about anything in regards to the lives of my brothers and sisters that had been taken. And silence is deadly. It can choke you. And I was starting to choke emotionally, because I wasn't talking to anybody. I wasn't processing my feelings. I wasn't, you know, I was just angry. I was angry about everything. And so when my friend Crystal Brooks said, you know, we're putting together this march, and Harmony, I want you to be there. I want you to speak. And I was like, okay. And then we got to the day of, and I got there early, and I was just like, I still can't talk about it, but I can move about it. Like, at the end of the day, I will always have dance. I can always express myself the way that I need to. And so when I told her that, she was like, of course, we would love for you to dance. And I'm like, of course. So I got up there, and it was only supposed to be me, but then my protege, Kalyani Ramanujan, that's my baby love, also my choreographer. She showed up, and I was like, baby, we gonna do this. Because we had already been working with our kids about expressing themselves, and we had been having some in-depth conversations with the babies that were baby-led. So the kids were leading those conversations, and I was just listening. I still wasn't sharing a lot. But the fear that was so real on my kids about, like, I don't know if my dad's gonna come home today because I'm afraid of the police taking his life. And if my dad's not here, then who's gonna take care of him? Like, those conversations.
I mean, just like young kids in our community, it is a huge fear in their heart now. Like, even even some of the teens, preteens that come here, is a big fear of, well, am I gonna go out and get beat by a cop today, or possibly killed by a cop today, or anything for that matter? So it's something that, you know, like, was kind of covered up for so long, and it's finally breaching the surface, which brings back the voice. And what you were talking about with the world is, with technology at our fingertips, the world is starting to wake up somewhat to an extent. We have a long way to go, but it's starting to wake up for in the past where it was like whatever your parents told you and you grew up in a home and read it in a textbook like this is history. No, that's not history. That's what you want us to believe is history. But there's a shitload more to history than that.
Yeah.
You know, and you're just making it seem like, oh, we went and found gold out west and haha, you know, it wasn't that easy.
Yeah.
It's a lot worse than that, you know. And but if you taught that to kids, the violence and everything that came with it, it's almost instilling fear in them.
Yeah.
But to grow up and still have that somewhat fear in you because you never knew the truth to begin with, it's a different story in its own. So.
Right. It's a lot for young people to unpack, but I'm grateful that my young people are willing to have those conversations.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, so that performance, that was just, that's what I had that day. You know, I didn't have anything else to give.
I, with the tears that picked up on the thing, I didn't know if it was like you had a recording going with the music or if that was like part of the performance.
No, it wasn't. It was something that, it
happened in the moment.
Yeah, I'm an improvisation queen. For those of you who really know me, I don't really choreograph too much of anything except for what I do for the kids. So when I perform, most of the time it is literally what I'm feeling right then in that moment.
The movement.
We didn't go up there with like, oh, I know that I'm gonna do this and this and this. It was, no, here's the song. We know that this is necessary and prevalent to the things that are happening right now. We're going to move to this, and we hope that you are moved by this. And I had gotten to a point where I was on my knees and I was crawling because I was like, you know, it feels like that. It feels like Black people are crawling to be like to get to this place, but we still have hope. We're still trying to just get over the mountaintop. We're getting weak, but we keep going. Like you're not gonna break us down. You're not gonna beat us down. And just we're gonna keep trudging along. And at one point I was like, you know, in this journey we have to learn how to comfort ourselves from the pain. And so you see me grab myself, but when I grabbed myself, I was actually thinking about all the boys that I saw literally in front of me. And I was like, these are my kids. These are my sons. These are the children that I have taught. And that's what sent me into like, oh my God, like I could not imagine waking, like, you know, someone calling me like, Miss Harmony, my baby is gone, our baby is gone. No, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine being a parent. And I don't have any physical children, but they are my children. They are an extension of me. And so when I start to think about that moment that my baby's life has been taken by the hands of the police, I will never see this son again. I will never see this baby again. All the joy, all the love, all the innocence that this baby has, I will never experience again. And that moment hit me so hard that I couldn't do anything but cry, which was a necessary release in that moment because I had nothing else to give. Because when you fight and you're fighting for what makes sense. And you're like, I don't understand why I have to fight for equality. It should just be common sense.
It should be, yeah.
And so it's like this should not be, the world should not be this way. This is angering. And even now, like you see how much my energy just shifted from like I'm angry about it because like in that moment, I'm like, this is why I'm tired. I'm tired of having to prove to you my value. You know, to prove to you why my life matters.
Like waking up, different day, same shit, same struggle.
Yeah.
And
so
even when you hear about the one or two on the news and you know, like, there's probably 50, 100 more out there. It's just
too many.
This one article gets blown up and people, I know I hear people, oh, we're still talking about this. Because that one article is there in the news and you're sick and tired of hearing it, in the past month that it's been playing on the news, 50, 100, 1,000 more are going on just like it. So this is the pivotal story that's trying to wake you up, but you're just too blind to see it. You know, just because it happens in Chicago, people say, oh, well, it wouldn't happen in Pennsylvania, or it wouldn't happen in Maine, or it wouldn't happen in Texas. Like, every state's different. You know, we have East Coast, West Coast, North, South, different neighborhoods everywhere, and it goes on all across the U.S., all across the world for that matter.
Yeah.
So stop saying, like, I'm sick and tired of hearing about it or whatever, and go out and do something about it. Because by being that person in your home just changing your TV station changing your channel, you're not doing shit about it.
You're not.
You know, so you're doing something about it through your art.
Mm-hmm.
Which is beautiful.
I'm trying to.
Nothing wrong with that. You said be a mother to all students, and you are. I think mother is the fundamentals of life. Whether it's blood or knowledge, it's all the same. And you pretty much covered that, exactly what you said. So a couple of my questions and things, you already beat me to the punch. But I thought it was cool. You said, this is me and her story, you and her story, her and her story, and that inspired it. So, you know, it culminated very nice. Are you planning on doing another showing of the show, or are you planning to repost it like YouTube or anything so people who missed out on it?
Yeah, so we have one more part in our series. My friend Billie, they are going to be presenting their work on Billie Holiday next month. And then after that, to my understanding, there will be a release of all of the series.
Okay,
and then,
as a collection, as a whole?
Yes, as a collection.
That's cool.
And then we are looking to come together in the summertime and create another piece of work for Juneteenth.
All right.
So just to finish the project, but the point of this work was to get people to have conversations, to acknowledge the artists within, to retell our stories, and to be seen and be heard and share in a safe space in a way that belongs specifically and uniquely to us. Cool. So, yeah, I'm excited. I hope that people book us for stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know what's
things
next,
start to get back to normal, and then, you know, because that's taken a huge hit is the arts, and especially, I mean, it was cool doing it Zoom, but it would have been nice to see in a live performance.
Yes.
Venue, state theater somewhere. All artists are hurting for that.
Yeah.
All right, we just got one more little thing. Switch it up a little bit, have fun. I got one of my sponsors here, Poddex.
Oh, snap.
So I'm just gonna ask you 3 questions that I pull out of this. I pretty much do it for every show. I don't believe I've gotten through the whole deck yet.
Okay.
3 questions, rapid fire. Answer them at your own will.
Okay.
So we got, what Guinness World Record do you think you could break in the future?
Oh, jeez.
Any team.
Oh, jeez. I don't know. Maybe a smiling record? I don't know.
All right.
Maybe.
Just walk around with a smile on your face forever.
A smile all day oh my
God. For
gosh.
the next 30 years.
No, that would hurt. So I don't know. I wouldn't be able to do it.
All right. Is cereal a soup? Why or why not?
Ew? No, definitely not. What is it? Cereal are 2 different things.
You add milk. Some people add milk to tomato soup, so why not? Instead of water.
That's you add heavy cream. You know, that's different.
Cream.
Heavy cream and milk. They said they 2 different things. You know.
All right.
Ew.
Do you have a signature move or quirk that people notice or comment on?
A signature move. I think all of us have a signature move for sure. Everybody's got a signature move, but what is it? I don't know.
You don't know?
Oh, I got a signature saying.
What's your signature saying?
It's your girl, Miss Harmony, coming at you live.
Or, good morning, beautiful people.
Good morning, beautiful people. It's your girl.
That's it. Those be the lives.
That's true. So true.
All right. This is number 2. What's the funniest place you ever fallen asleep?
The funniest place I've ever fallen asleep.
Yep.
On my cousin LaShanie's butt.
All right. Booty,
Sorry,
booty,
Shane.
Pillow everywhere. What is something you get wrong almost every time you do it?
Something I get wrong every time I do it. Love. No, okay. I don't know.
Here on Cupid's arrow. And last one, would you rather give up all drinks except for water or give up eating anything that was cooked in the oven? Ooh, that's a hard one.
I would be okay giving up everything.
Everything cooked in the oven?
No, everything except for water.
All drinks except for water. Yeah, I could drink water all day as long as I got food that's cooked in the oven. I'm golden.
Good.
It's all right. That's a wrap. That's what we got for you today. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for breaking it down, explaining.
Appreciate you,
everything.
good sir.
Of course, no doubt.
Yes.
Till next time.
Till next time.
Everybody, make sure you tune in next time the showing. Do you have a date for the showing? Approximate?
March. It's usually the first weekend in March. The first full week in March.
Well,
so
she'll keep you posted.
We will.
Follow her on Facebook. Any social media links you want to drop? Twitters, Instagrams?
Yes, you can check me out at Harmony Malone on Facebook, Miss Harmony on Instagram. I don't do Twitter.
All right.
You can email me at dancingmiss.harmony@gmail.com. You can also check out our website, which is also Miss Harmony's Dance Studio. You can type that in and pull us up.
United Dance Troupe?
Yes, it's all underneath Miss Harmony's Dance Studio.
It's all there.
We've branched since the last time.
Cool.
So it's not just United. We now have a Tinier Tots program and a Tiny Tots program for ages 3 through 5 and 5 through 7. And then United is for 7 to 12. And in the future, if Miss Harmony has capacity, we'll create a high school division. So,
All right.
we love it. Thank you. All right,
Thanks for tuning in. We out.
Gang.